see the video, see me as well?
Yes, sir. We can.
Cool. Okay. So last class we talked about, how the course is going to be got to know you guys. So from today onwards, we're going to start talking about the topic. Okay. So today's class is an introduction to business analytics. And before I talk about anything about introducing business analytics to you, I'm going to show you 3 pictures and a video. By the way, another interesting thing I want to tell you is technically, I'm not going to tell you what is business analytics. Trust me on this. And that's a question that's never going to come on your, rest of your life. So I can assure you on that. No one cares about what these days. I'm going to rather introduce the basics of the concepts to you. So before we start, I want to share a video. So let's actually start the presentation and let me share the video. Initially, presentation ekটু blurry mone hote pare. That is because I'm trying to optimize the screen for video, and video quality to ekটু kharab. So I'll share the better video quality link online, but you can hear that. And I think when hearing it is more important than viewing the content. And it's very simple. It's a TED Talk. So let's start with it. Can you hear the TED Talk?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
If you go on the TED website, you can currently find there over a full week of TED Talk videos, over 1.3 million words of transcripts, and millions of user ratings. And that's a huge amount of data. And it got me wondering, if you took all this data and put it through statistical analysis, could you reverse engineer a TED Talk? Could you create the ultimate TED Talk? And also, could you create the worst possible TED Talk that they would still let you get away with? To find this out, I looked at 3 things. I looked at the topic that you should choose, I looked at how you should deliver it, and the visuals on stage. Now, with the topic, there's a whole range of topics you can choose, but you should choose wisely, because your topic strongly correlates with how users will react to your talk. Now, to make this more concrete, let's look at the list of top 10 words that statistically stick out in the most favorite TED Talks and in the least favorite TED Talks. So if you came here to talk about how French coffee will spread happiness in our brains, that's a go. Whereas if you wanted to talk about your project involving oxygen, girls, aircraft, actually I would like to hear that talk, but statistics say it's not so good. Oh well, if you generalize this, the most favorite TED Talks are those that feature topics we can connect with both easily and deeply, such as happiness, our own body, food, emotions, and the more technical topics such as architecture, materials, and strangely enough, men. Those are not good topics to talk about. How should you deliver your talk? TED is famous for keeping a very sharp eye on the clock, so they're going to hate me for revealing this, because actually you should talk as long as they will let you, because the most favorite TED Talks are on average over 50% longer than the least favorite ones. And this holds true for all ranking lists on TED.com, except if you want to have a talk that's beautiful, inspiring, or funny. Then you should be brief. But other than that, talk until they drag you off the stage. Now, while you're pushing the clock, there's a few rules to obey. I found these rules out by comparing the statistics of 4-word phrases that appear more often in the most favorite TED Talks as opposed to the least favorite TED Talks. I'll give you 3 examples. First of all, I must, as a speaker, provide a service to the audience and talk about what I will give you instead of saying what I can't have. Secondly, it's imperative that you do not cite the New York Times. And Finally, it's okay for the speaker, that's the good news, to fake intellectual capacity. If I don't understand something, I can just say etc., etc. You'll all stay with me. It's perfectly fine. Now, let's go to the visuals. The most obvious visual thing on stage is the speaker, and analysis shows if you want to be among the most favorite TED speakers, you should let your hair grow a little bit longer than average. Make sure you wear your glasses and be slightly more dressed up than the average TED speaker. Slides are okay, though you might consider going for props. And now the most important thing, that is the mood on stage. Color plays a very important role. Color closely correlates with the ratings that talks get on the website. For example, fascinating talks contain a statistically high amount of exactly this blue color, much more than the average TED Talk. Ingenious TED Talks, much more of this green color, etc., etc. Now, personally, I think I'm not the first one who has done this analysis, but I'll leave this to your good judgment. So now it's time to put it all together and design the ultimate TED Talk. Now, since this is TED Active, and I learned from my analysis that I should actually give you something, I will not impose the ultimate or worst TED Talk on you, but rather give you a tool to create your own. And I call this tool the TED Pad. And the TED Pad is a matrix of 100 specifically selected, highly curated sentences that you can easily piece together to get your own TED Talk. You only have to make one decision, and that is, are you going to use the white version for very good TED Talks about creativity, human genius, or are you going to go with a black version, which will allow you to create really bad TED Talks, mostly about blogs, politics, and stuff. So download it and have fun with it. Now, I hope you enjoy this session. I hope you enjoy designing your own ultimate and worst possible TED Talks. And I hope some of you will be inspired for next year to create this, which I really want to see. Thank you very much.
So let me actually reshare the screen, because now I'll share without the video optimization. So why show you this? Any answer?
Sir, it is to show that we can create something from the data. That is, we can analyze the data to find out what is more appealing to the viewers.
25% correct, I would say. Go one step back. That's my hint. Think again. Yeah, Sadid, go for it.
That statistics and data can help us make decisions, such as when politicians talk in the stage, they often use modern statistics and data to think about what they should say in this particular state so that most people react to that. That could be one application of this.
Very reading up on how Obama used data in elections.
Yeah, I also read up on how Trump used it, but I don't think it actually made a lot of sense because Trump did a lot of nonsensical props.
Exactly. Don't read on how Trump did it. He's a crazy guy. Go for how Obama did it.
Okay.
But yeah, 50% of the answer. Still not full. Sadid? Oh yeah, your hand is raised. So yeah, anyone else who wants to? Give it a shot, come on. I see two participants raising their hands. So one of you volunteer, follow.
Okay, that you can use different types of data to analyze, for example, words and colors.
Spot on. Not colors, Adib got it right. What's your name, Bha, who also raised a hand?
Sadman.
Yeah, Sadman. Next time I'll give you the chance, okay? Cool. So what Adib said, this is exactly why I wanted to show this video. The reason why I wanted to show is the video, we have been sensitized to a two-dimensional version of data. Columns, rows. Column thake ekta type of information, rows thake oi information in detail. And we think of numbers. We think of tables, tabular format of data. But look at this person. So this is 2010. Sebastian Wernicke, the guy. He was actually behind few of the best innovations and inventions in natural language processing. And the way he created this TED video was nothing. He just went to TED.com, scraped TED, like প্রত্যেকটা transcript, and সেখান থেকে প্রত্যেকটা ভিডিওর জন্য কয়টা ভিউ আছে, কয়টা লাইক আছে, এগুলো আছে, ওটা নিয়েছে, and that's it. And he analyzed it. It's just text. This video, this did not introduce text analytics to the world. Text analytics তার আগেও ছিল, কিন্তু this video just shows how powerful insights you can get. ইনফ্যাক্ট ও যে জিনিসটা বললো যে টেড প্যাড ডেভেলপ করছে, তো তোমাদেরকে এখন আরেকটা মজার জিনিস বলি। 2019 তোমার একটা খুব নাম করা লিটারেচার কনফারেন্স, ঠিক আছে, ওয়ান অফ দ্য টপ মোস্ট লিটারেচার কনফারেন্স, two computer science PhD students appeared to present a paper. Their paper got selected and the paper was very highly talked about, which is why they were asked to present their paper in that conference. তারা স্টেজে উঠলো, প্রেজেন্টেশনে প্রথমে তারা ডিক্লেয়ার করলো যে they have not written the paper. Everyone was stunned. Then how did you submit it in your own name if you have not written the paper? They're like, they developed an AI and সেই AI কে তারা 5টা লাইন লিখে দিছিল. The rest of the paper was written by the AI, and it was so well written that it got accepted in one of the world's topmost literature conferences. They thought that these two people wrote it. So that's how the world we live in today works. But today, data is not only just, karo gender information, karo purchasing data. Data can be someone's expressions, someone's texts, someone's comments. So that's why I showed you this video. I got 2 other comments that statistics can be fun, or to show that data analytics can be fun. Yes. Another thing was like, show you the fun side of statistics, because tomorrow motamoti the dead side of statistics they care most of your life, or dead side of analytics, but it can be used to do some weird ass stuff like this guy did. And this TED talk is, I think, one of the most popular TED talks. So that was one to show you, like, how different sources of data are there, and one major source is text. Then if we go forward, give me a sec, just. If we go to the next picture, oops, sorry, yeah, this one. Now, let me give you some background. This is a picture from February 3rd, 2018 in Mozambique. February 3rd in Mozambique is called the Heroes Day. It's very similar to আমাদের 26th March মতন. Heroes Day টা কিছুটা এরকম যে that's where some key heroes of Mozambique history gave their life to ensure the liberation of the country. Now, in that day, people go out for marches. Everyone go out for marches. রাস্তায় march করে and victory celebration করে. So it's a long shot question, but let me see if how many of you, anyone who has read the book would feel like to say, but let's see. Guess, why am I showing you this picture? Then I'll tell you a story. I think I'm setting you up for failure here, but still guess. Guess করতে তো অসুবিধা নেই, মানে দুইটা খারাপ guess করলে তো আমি তোমার কিডনি নিয়ে নিব না, so let's still give it a guess. Yeah, Shabab, Syed Shabab, go for it.
Sir, maybe the influence of the colors of the flag, I don't know, it's just a bit, it's what's popping in the picture, so I don't know.
Could be. Then we have Shadman raising your hand. Go for it, Shadman.
Sir, I think data analytics was used to find what's the color of the t-shirts mostly worn by the people in the marches.
Only depth question answer, but the truth is far away from that. Actually, you know what? I'm just কি বলবো, মেসিং উইথ ইউ গাইস, এটা এই ছবি থেকে গেস করা সম্ভব না। সো লেট আস লোয়ার আওয়ার হ্যান্ডস, আইল টেল ইউ দ্য স্টোরি। জাস্ট ভাবলাম যে সারাদিন অফিস করতেছিলাম, লিটল বোর্ড, তো তোমাদেরকে দিয়ে একটু না মানে একটু প্যারা দিলাম আর কি, কি আর করার। সো so basically the story is related to this day, February the 3rd. So 2014, the author of this book, Factfulness, he was presenting about the data of development for African nations. And Mozambique was shown to be one of the most stagnant nations. তাদের GNI, GDP কোনোটাই increasing trend দেখাচ্ছিল না. And that was what the data was showing. And this was presented in front of the African Union and United Nations delegation, where the Prime Minister of Mozambique was there as well. Now, the Prime Minister, after the presentation, goes up to the person who is presenting, the author of the book Factfulness, Hans Rosling. So Hans ke bole, je, you know, the data that you have shown me shows that Mozambique is stagnant, but I know that my country has improved. So Hans, being an academic, was very interested, and he asks, how? How do you know? What proof do you have? And the Prime Minister is like very simple. So every February the 3rd it's a very passionate day for all of Mozambique. So everyone gets out on the road with their best dresses and best shoes and marches. So the Prime Minister is like, you know what? I don't look at GDP, GNP. I look at the shoes worn by people on that day's march. Why? Because if everyone gets out and everyone wears their fanciest shoes, then no one's gonna lend their fanciest shoes to the other person, which means that looking at the shoe quality is a good proxy, not an exact proxy, but a good proxy of how much a person can afford. And that's how he gets an idea. And he told Hans that, you know, over the last 10 years, I've seen considerable improvement in shoes. And in retrospective, it was actually a much better measurement of how good someone lives compared to GNI, GDP, or GNP. So what does that story tell you about data?
I think data can be about anything.
It can be about anything. Yes, I see 2 raised hands. Polok ekhon porjonto hath raise korone. Go for it, Polok.
I think it's important to know where to look for the data. What data to exactly look for in order to get an interpretation.
See, the main theme of this, actually, there were 2 themes of this story. Sorry, folks, I'll give you again, guys, chances to answer again later. So, the key, মানে 2টা key theme ছিল, and 2টা key theme একটা theme is যেটা পলক বলল, যে, you know, you can get data from anywhere. We live in a world where we can get data from anywhere. The trick is to finding the right data, finding the right measurement. And sometimes it might not be the statistically recorded measurements that's the right measurement. It can be something else. যেমন তোমাদেরকে একটা খুব ইন্টারেস্টিং মেজারমেন্ট বলি, বাংলাদেশে the index to start a business, এই স্কোরটায় বাংলাদেশ এখনো one of the lowest in the world. The difficulties are massive. And yet we are nurturing Bikash, one of the companies in the world যেখানে Bill and Melinda Gates invest করছে, এখন and financial invest করছে. We're also nurturing Pathao, one of the unicorns. Then we have তোমার Shoppa, যেখানে Sequoia invest করছে. So if the statistics was true that, you know, Bangladesh, it's hard to set up a business, then how can these investors are coming in? I'm not saying the statistics is wrong either. Statistics যেটা measure করে, it measures based on some limitations, but maybe that statistics is not the only one thing we should be noticing when looking at the data. The reason of telling you this story and sharing you this picture is give you an idea, you know, what you're trying to measure, you can actually find a very unique way of finding what you want to measure, not even an established way or an established number. And that's why I'm sharing this story. The third picture I want to show you is this one. Oh, before that, we have a chat. Let's see. Oh no, Baki, you were saying that this was generated by AI. No, it was not generated by, it was a taken picture. Acha. Now, coming to this floor. Now, this floor map is actually a floor map some of you might actually be familiar with. So this is Mina Bazar, Bonani Agarota. Bonani Agaro bridge উঠার আগে যে বাম দিকে মিনা বাজারটা থাকে ওটা মিনা বাজারের floor. And this is movement of one person. I'm not gonna say the gender of that person, but সে মানুষ তোমার মিনা বাজারে 83 মিনিট টাইম স্পেন্ড করছে, 83 minutes. And this is that person's 83 minutes. Black dots show that সে মানুষটা বিভিন্ন জায়গায় দাঁড়ায় কিনছে. White dots mean সে কিনে নাই. That is not purchasing, মানে একটা আইটেম ধরছে তুলছে কিন্তু সে কিনে নাই. What does it tell me about this customer? Or overall, if I'm Mina Bazar, এই ধরনের diagram আমাকে কি বলে? Wait. So, well, so many hands. Oishi, go for it.
Mina Bazar can probably understand that ওরা যেভাবে product mixটা রাখছে, যে placement করছে ওটা probably ঠিক না, is not conducive to encouraging purchasing behavior, or ওদের হচ্ছে যে products গুলো like একসাথে মানুষ কিনে like একসাথে buy together করে ওগুলা হচ্ছে probably কাছাকাছি place করা না, so একটা মানুষের হচ্ছে বারবার যে মানে like but the person here is making his purchasing behavior at very distant locations. So hote pare je he's buying a certain type of product or a certain theme of products jeta hote she ek jagay pacche na, tai bole tar eto mane scattered ঘুরে ঘোরা লাগছে. So just these two cents.
Could be. Good feedback. I mean, this is one thing you can find out from here. Then the other feedback, in the chat I can see Tasnia saying that people spend a lot of time near the entrance. Yes, an obvious view here. The offer items are at the front of the entrance. Could be. Then say, let's go to Kazi Iraj.
Sir, I think it's somewhat like the 80-20 principle where 20% of the work actually leads to profit and 80% doesn't actually lead to profit. So here, like around 20% of the products actually generate the profit, the rest 80% doesn't.
I won't go for profit, but আমি যেটা বলবো যে হ্যাঁ 20% of the things that the person picking up gets to be purchasing, and the other 80% is dropped off by the person. He or she doesn't take it. Rafat বলছো যে will help us get an idea of the pair sets of products. Yes. Well, the shop is what Salman is saying, that the shop is designed perfectly. I think it's designed perfectly. It's just that it's a basic purchasing behavior of people. Nazifa, you're saying that he or she spent a lot of time picking up products and comparing prices. Yes, that was one of the insights that was missing from rest of you. Good one, Nazifa. মানুষটা অনেক কম্পেয়ার করছে, কারণ ওই যে এই জাম্বলটা যদি দেখো নিচের দিকে অনেকগুলো সিমিলার প্রোডাক্ট তুলছেন কম্পেয়ার করছে। And Sadid, a very good observation is, মানে সেই কাস্টমারটা যাই হোক না কেন তাকে কিন্তু এমন ভাবে ডিজাইন করা হয়েছে লেআউটটা যে সে মোটামুটি পুরো সবটাই গেছে, চাক না চাক। কারণ এরকম তো হতে পারে যে মানে ইটস নট আ নেসেসারি যে মানুষের শপে আসতেছে তার পুরো সব হাঁটা লাগবে, রাইট? সে তো এটাও করতে পারে যে সে জাস্ট মানে জাস্ট জিনিসটা নিল এন্ড চলে গেল। So this design is actually a good design, I would say, because it's forcing the person to মোটামুটি revisit all the part of the shop. এখানে আরেকটা যে জিনিসটা বলছে যে যেটা I agree with all of you here, যে you know it tells me যে এক্স্যাক্টলি কোন জিনিসগুলো কম্পেয়ার করে ছেড়ে দিচ্ছে, এন্ড সেগুলো কেন ছেড়ে দিচ্ছে। তার মানে আমি অফারগুলো কিন্তু এন্ট্রান্স অফ দ্য শপে দিতে পারি এই জায়গাগুলোতে, বা কোথায় কম্পারিজন বেশি হচ্ছে কোথায় কম্পারিজন কম হচ্ছে। যেমন ধরো তোমরা যদি বটম রাইটে দুইটা ব্ল্যাক ডট দেখো, এই দুটো কিন্তু কোনো কম্পারিজনই হচ্ছে না, স্পট অন কিনে ফেলতেছে। তার মানে দিস আর স্টাফ মেবি দ্য পারসন হুজ বাইং, সে চিন্তা না করে ডিরেক্টলি কিনেন, সেটা সে কিনবেই, ডাজন্ট ম্যাটার অফ দ্য এখানে প্রাইস, মানে এখানে ওই যে ইয়েটা থাকে না, আর ইলাস্টিসিটি অফ প্রাইস বা এগুলো নাই হয়তো এখানে, বাট elasticity of price is very high in the front entrance and also at the back side. So front actually এটা ছিল তোমার fruits, so মানুষজন অনেক fruit compare করে, আর ব্যাকে ওইটা ছিল কি meat and dairy এগুলো ছিল। So again, this overall it tells us that data Doesn't need to be limited to numbers or text. It can be just a person's movement. Imagine having the video movement of this person. সে কোথায় কোথায় হাত দিয়ে নিচ্ছে, কোন কোন জিনিসগুলো উপরে তাকায় নিল না, কোন কোন জিনিসগুলো হয়তো সে নিয়ে রেখে দিল, কোন কোন জিনিস হয়তো সে একেবারে চেক আউটের আগে যায় না আমায় আসলে, কারণ সে ভয় পাচ্ছে যে মানুষ মানে বাসায় মাইট দিবে ওর এটা নিয়ে গেলে। So all these things, and in fact this was actually a result of a video. It was a মানে sad story though. The real story is like, you know, now we have AI capabilities, যেটা দিয়ে তোমার ধরো যদি একটা মিনা বাজারের মতন শপ থাকে, ওরা যদি ওদের শপের যে ইয়েটা আছে ভিতরের সিসিটিভি ক্যামেরা ফুটেজটা আছে ওটা যদি আপলোড করে, there are cloud AI services capable of identifying people movement through that. তুমি যদি 2-3টা কাস্টমারকে ট্যাগ করে দিতে পারো as training data, then the cloud AI can track each and every customer's journey throughout the shop. Now, this data is from 2015, and তখন cloud AI তে এটা ছিল, AI capabilities এটা ছিল, but it would have been very expensive. And this was a project I was doing with Mina Bazaar, where Mina Bazaar, they were not, মানে ওই ক্লাউড এআই কে এমপ্লয় করার মতন এক্সপেন্সের দিকে যাইতে পারে না আর কি। মানে তারা প্রিলিমিনারি দেখতে চাচ্ছিল যে কি ইনসাইটস পাওয়া যেতে পারে, কারণ ফর আ সুপার মার্কেট এমনি ইনসাইট যেটা আসে সেটা পারচেজ ইনসাইট, তাদের যে ক্যাশ রেজিস্টার থেকে যে ডেটাটা আসে, দ্যাটস আ পারচেজ ইনসাইট। ইট ডাজন্ট টেল দেম যে কোন জিনিসটা মানুষটা কিনতে যেও কিনে নেয়, কারণ ওইটা হয়তো বা সে সেল দিলে বা ওইটা বান্ডলিং করলে হয়তো মানুষটা কিনতে পারবে, আপসেলিং। সো ইনফরমেশনটার জন্য we did this for them. I was a consultant and my consulting worked with this. Now, the way we got this data was a very sad and a manual way. We got it by hiring 10 interns. And when I felt really sorry for them, but ওদের কাজই ছিল 1 মাস ধরে বসে বসে এই মানে এই সিসিটিভি ক্যামেরা দেখে দেখে মানুষের পাথ ম্যাপ করা আর কি। The worst thing was like when after a month, one of the intern is like, sir, I'm not gonna watch movie for একটা স্ক্রিনের দিকে তাকাবো না for next 1 month. I'm so tired of it. I'm like, yeah, I'm sorry for that, but yeah, cheap way of like Bangladeshi cheap labor way of getting stuff done আর কি। But I mean, now you can like we can do much more এখন যেমন what we are talking with Mina Bazaar is if they want to redo this same thing, just add RFID tags with each trolley. Then I can track the movement within the shop. So that's again an example of how we can track user behavior, movements, and that's also data. The last thing that I want to show you is this. So this is a data I just picked up today. This is basically overall sentiment of the term TikTok globally for last 7 days. So as you can see that the term TikTok has reached a potential reach of 45.7 trillion. So technically there is, this world doesn't have 45.7 trillion people. So, and no, we are not catering to Mars or other planets yet. So this is basically number of posts. So the post reach or the post exposure was around 45.7 trillion for the term TikTok. What I want you to focus on is the top left, the positive and the negative. What it says is that out of this 45.7 trillion, 24.7 of the reach was mostly positive, 18.3% of the reach was mostly negative. And this shows the fluctuation of positive and negative sentiment. So sentiment, people can figure out through what they write in their statuses, in their comments. It's another part of what we say NLP, যেটাকে বলা হয় যে sentiment analytics, যে তোমার যা লিখছো তুমি যা বলছো সেটা থেকে ট্র্যাক করতে পারা যে what is your sentiment now. এখানে পজিটিভ নেগেটিভ বলছে, we can if you are good at natural language processing and text analytics, you can also do much more sentiment analysis. You can see that কতটুক fear, what portion of the statuses are fearful, what portion are angry, what portion are jealous, what portion are anticipating, what portion are positive, what portion are negative. So all these things you can find out, and these are all different, again, sources of data. So today we are not limited to only numeric data, we're not limited to only videos, text, we're also limited to emotions, movements, activities. In fact, তোমাদেরকে যদি আমি রিসেন্ট একটা আপডেট দিই, last month, an Indian company reached out to me as an external product evaluator, where they were trying to show me something which I cannot name the company because the people they're working with are very confidential. But I mean, and the product is confidential as well, but I can explain the product to you. ধরো আমরা এখন in the age of internet আমরা অনলাইনে ইন্টারভিউ দিচ্ছি, রাইট? আমাদের হয়তো জব ইন্টারভিউ অনলাইনে হচ্ছে, a lot of things are happening online. So ওদের একটা প্ল্যাটফর্ম বিল্ড করেছে, যে প্ল্যাটফর্মের থ্রুতে তুমি যদি ইন্টারভিউ দিতে থাকো, দেন তোমার ভয়েসটা automatically gets transcribed if it's in English, and the transcription থেকে কমন টার্মস গুলো, কমন প্যাটার্নস গুলো বারবার চোখে মানে যে ইন্টারভিউয়ার তার ড্যাশবোর্ডে আসতে থাকবে while you are giving the interview. So তুমি যদি খুব বারবার বলতে থাকো I am a born leadership is what I do, leadership is all my skills, I'm motivated leader, বারবার লিডার বলো, তাহলে লিডারটা বড় করে আসবে তার স্ক্রিনে যে বারবার লিডার নিয়ে ব্যবহার করতেছে। Then not only that, it's also going to measure your tone fluctuations. So say I ask you a difficult question and you said you know the answer to it, then হয়তো তোমার এটা নরমাল টোনে আসবে। It has been proven by studies that people when they lie, they have high pitch tones. So tone fluctuations can give me an idea যে কোন অ্যান্সারে তুমি চাপা মারতেছো, কোন অ্যান্সারে ইউ আর বিং অনেস্ট, আর কোন অ্যান্সারে তুমি নার্ভাস। তারপর তোমার স্টাটারিং এন্ড এগুলো মেজার করবে, and it's been done real time so that the interviewer gets to see how, মানে যেটা সামনাসামনি আমি দেখতে পারতাম যে তুমি হয়তো বা কঠিন কোয়েশ্চেনে একটু মানে ঘামতেছো in the middle of AC, which means যে yes spicy ভালো একটা কোয়েশ্চেন করছি। So all these things can also be observed real time in a software. They're going to launch this software, and this is also very useful for the intelligence community, this software, when you're interviewing people or when you're looking at the speech patterns of potential threats. So now that is the extent to which data can be collected. And the reason I'm spending like the first half of this class on this is I want you to appreciate the level of data out there, the expanse of data out there. So আমি যখন when I work in many places in Bangladesh, I get a complaint from people saying that data কোথায় আছে? আমার question হল কি data কোথায় নাই? Today data is everywhere. The challenge is identifying the what would get your job done. Acha, let's pause a bit here. I have few questions or comments coming in. So yeah, I mean that intern is not talking to me anymore. সে আমাকে ওইসব বলে টলে আর কি চলে গেছে। I think he blocked me in all media altogether. তারপর yeah, this is actually scary as well. I mean, Sadi যেটা যেটা real-time interpretations, most of them are quite accurate. কারণ audio recognition is quite powerful. But তাসনিয়া যেটা বলছে যে হ্যাঁ, this is actually a very scary thing as well. কারণ actually this borders on যে কতটুকু প্রাইভেসি আমি as a human being পাচ্ছি আজকে, and that's a difficult place actually. ধরো ইউরোপে যেরকম GDPR গাইডলাইন্স আছে যেটা ensures একটা level of data protection, but Asia Pacific and countries like us আমাদের data protection বলতে কিছু নেই, আমাদের data laws ও নেই, because the people who work with these policies, most of them, to them big data means একটা Excel file with 50 megabytes size. Trust me when I'm saying this, I'm quoting someone. I'm not going to name that person, but yeah, from a policymaker, I got to know that that definition of big data is an Excel file with 50 megabyte size. So it's a very challenging field. In fact, এটা নিয়ে আমি তোমাদের একটা separate class নিব altogether, where I'm going to talk about like the ethical standards in data, what ethical standards you need to be aware of. But তোমাদেরকে যদি একটা example দিই, যে ধরো কিছু জিনিস the way your our privacy is bridged, আমি বলবো, it's just that the level of details people can get is তোমার, you all are aware of তোমার Google Chrome এর কি যেন বলে, আরে the browsing method কি anonymous browsing, right? Incognito, yes. So I have few friends who are like developers in Google, and to them incognito is the biggest joke out there. Why? I'll tell you. It gives you, the user, sense of security, saying that तुम्हारी browser history to store होबे ना, people will not see what you're browsing and stuff like that. But that's the thing, Chrome doesn't need to store browser histories. All it does is it downloads a cookie through which it measures your or records your keystrokes. So incognito mode, if you put in, like, say, Sunny Leon or something on that line, I'm sure Google knows about it. It's like, ধরো তুমি মনে করতেছো রুমটা অন্ধকার, কিন্তু চারপাশে রুমটা খুবই lighted up and everyone is getting to see what you're doing. So that's the level of data we are giving out at this point. It's a difficult area because many Shabab, shut up.
So it's just an off-topic question. So does this essentially mean even if when we're not on incognito, every time we accept cookies from a website, we get more vulnerable in terms of privacy?
Yeah, they get more information from you. But at the same time, যদি তুমি এখন আবার cookieless life lead করতে চাও, that's going to be hard as well. মানে it's a very, এটাকে আমরা বলি যে মানে the arms race of technology. যে ধরো, so I have a friend who's a researcher in Cornell, ও খুবই interesting একটা thesis করতেছে, and I'm looking forward to the results. So the thesis he's doing is he's asking random people across the world, and he's going to ask around, মানে ও target he's going to cover, I think, 1.5 to 2 million people across the world with internet access. A very simple question. যে আজকে যদি Facebook or Google তোমাকে বলে যে তুমি যা যা টাইপ করছো, যা যা টেক্সট করছো একে ওকে, ওটা পাবলিক করে দিবে, ওইটা আটকাতে কত টাকা দিতে রাজি আছে? So when he proposed this to his supervisor বলছিল যে কিছু মানুষ স্ট্রোক টোক করতে পারে এটা শুনে, so be careful about it. And I'm like, yeah, be very careful about it. So মানে people might actually get freaked out. And I'm looking forward to the result. I have bets on the money amount. It's going to be a very high money amount, but I want to see. I don't think there is not many people who can confidently say that, okay, do it. Not going to pay. I mean, number কত percent is able to say that? Acha, we have a few more chats coming in. Let's see. Well, yeah, Hassan, if you want to go back to the cave era, then you have to be capable of, like, running around with a club and beating animals and preparing them. So yeah, Oishi, I'll let you know of the results. DuckDuckGo, not really, Shakib. It does the same thing, just doesn't let you know. Pollock, when I move from cognito to incognito, websites still show my previous choices. Yeah, so there you go. It's যারা উল্টা বলে না যে আমি can I have your browser at incognito mode, আমি মুখের উপর কিছু বলি না, আমার মনে মনে অনেক হাসি যে okay, use whatever incognito mode you want. I'll give you a VPN, use that. Even then it's recorded. So yeah. So the reason why I'm sharing these things is because, again, the amount of things we can collect. So what we have today is something we call the evolution of data. It used to be binary codes. It used to be numbers. Now we have text, pictures, video, audio, body movements, emotions. All these things are the sources of data. And we can get data from any of these sources as long as we have the measuring mechanisms. For example, the Google car uses movement data to predict যে সামনের যে জিনিসটা হেঁটে যাচ্ছে ওটা কি একটা কার কিনা নাকি একটা পাখি নাকি একটা স্টপ সাইন নাকি একটা pedestrian. So I give you examples of video and audio. So your interactions in websites, in fact, একটা মজার জিনিস বলি, অনলাইনে যেরকম a lot of websites can track how your mouse moves when you have loaded their website. Mouse টা মুভ করছো দেখা যায়, আর সেটা পর্যন্ত রেকর্ড করা যায়। আচ্ছা, my internet connection shows unstable, একটু কেটে কেটে যেতে পারে guys, যদি বেশি কেটে যায় একটু জাস্ট আমাকে দিও, give me a heads up. So now, before we go there, evolution of data is one thing, but এই যে ধরো we live in this age of machine learning, AI, একটা তো হলো data has evolved, but it's not only data that has evolved. We also need something more. to be able to make the best out of these data. Can you tell me what is that?
Data
analyzing and visualization.
Both of you say it. So ye aage bolo. Shadab, aage bolo. Go for it.
Sir, the way we like present the data or analyze it essentially.
Analyze. Basically, Ahmed Hassan Baki jeta bolla, data processing power. So তোমরা যদি এই লাইনে একটু মানে ডিটেইল দেখতে চাও, আজকে আমাদের অত টাইম হবে না ডিটেইলে বলার, বাট আমি তোমাদেরকে একটা নাম দিই। It's called Moore's law. I don't know how many of you know of it or not. অনেকগুলো ইয়েতে তোমার সায়েন্স ফিকশনে এটা নাম বলা হয় Moore's law. তো Moore's law যেটা বলে যে প্রসেসিং পাওয়ার যত বেড়েছে প্রপোর্শনেটলি প্রসেসিং সাইজ তত কমে এসেছে। সো 1980s এর একটা IBM সুপার কম্পিউটার, যেটা ধরো একটা মানে গ্যারেজ লেভেল জায়গা নিয়ে লাগতো বা একটা ওয়্যারহাউস লেভেল জায়গা নিয়ে লাগতো, সেটা থেকে 100 times more powerful is your phone right now. So that's how much we have gone forward in processing powers. In fact, this is the interesting thing. যে এই যে ধরো different types of data possible, এটা কিন্তু সবাই জানতো. Humanity knew about this long back. In fact, the models we use to process the data, that is also well known. ধরো right now, analytics এ একটা খুব powerful process is something we call neural networks. Can anyone tell me when was the first time, which year or which time approximately, neural network termটার ব্যাপারে first discussion হয়েছিল? Anyone? Just a guess.
Sir, I just Googled, it's 1943.
Yes, it's 1943. The term neural network came up. 1980s, there was this decision scientist who said that neural network can come help process data. So যে models গুলো আমরা use করি, regression বলো, recursive partitioning বলো, neural networks বলো, they are old. They are nothing new. Last 20 বছরে কিন্তু ওগুলো improve করে নাই. What really improved, what really changed is our incredible capability to handle data, to process data, to store and process them. Processing power. Today, we are not even limited to computers. We can go to cloud computing. আমরা চাইলে আজকে Google Cloud platform যেতে পারি, আমরা চাইলে আজকে Amazon Web Services যেতে পারি, and সেখানে we can run processes where a cloud computing uses distributed processing powers to process something that is equal to say 100 to 100 laptops. Now we are entering the age of quantum computing. সামনে আসতেছি ubiquitous computing. Anyone who knows what is ubiquitous computing? Any idea what is ubiquitous computing? So ubiquitous computing means processor for everything. So dharo, this is my teacup today, right? So suppose the tea is getting cold. So this teacup will have a heater and a processor involved in it, where it's going to measure the level of heat in it. And if I program it properly, it's going to keep my tea heated in that temperature. Or I can get an update from the teacup to my watch, or my smartwatch, or my phone. Zakif, your tea is getting cold. Do you want to reheat it? Ubiquitous computing talks about connecting the whole world on computing. Today, already, our present cloud computers are capable of mimicking human brain. Quantum computing will surpass that. Ubiquitous computing will connect us to every measurables possible, every actions possible. So that's where we are, Jay, the evolution of data and what it has led us to. Now, this course, I'm not going to talk about evolution of data or evolution of computing. The reason I'm introducing these things is because I also want to talk about Jay, এগুলোর সাথে, as the data came in, so came in the challenges and the changes in processing. So first, I'm going to introduce something to you. This is basically what we call the business analytics process. Now, again, আমি তোমাদেরকে I'll give you my word যে এই জিনিসটা আঁকতে বলবো না তোমাদেরকে কখনো, because এটা এটা আঁকতে পারাটা is not a skill that you should add in your CV, honestly. So rather, understanding is important. So it starts with problem identification. That for any business, you need to understand যে তোমার what are you expecting from the data? What are you asking the data to do? Or what type of answers, what type of solutions are you requiring? So this problem identification, তোমরা কি, did you guys do entrepreneurship course?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
So I hope you got introduced to business model canvas, either
Yes,
in
sir.
entrepreneurship course or
Yes,
somewhere
yes,
else.
sir, we did.
Yes, sir.
Good. So business model canvas যে value creation and যেগুলো আছে সেখান থেকে কিন্তু we derive the problem, and doesn't need to be a problem, it can be an expansion as well. আচ্ছা ঠিক আছে, this is our core business model, this is our core business values we want to add. Now how can we incorporate data into it? In fact, তোমাদেরকে আমি একটা পার্সোনাল জিনিস বলবো, এটা আমি ধরো নেক্সট দিন তোমাদেরকে দেখানোর চেষ্টা করব যে every time, so I work as a data strategist and a consultant for companies. So when I go to companies, আমি actually ওদের business model canvas নিয়ে বসি। আচ্ছা ঠিক আছে, তোমাদের কোর ভ্যালুস গুলো আমার বুঝাও, and তারপর আমি তোমাদেরকে বলি যে এই কোর ভ্যালুস এর কোথায় 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 ডেটা ক্যান এনহ্যান্স your business model canvas, or data can drive your business model canvas. That aligns data to strategy. Then after you identify the problem, it's very important to understand, like, how do you convert the problem or the need of the business to measurables, the data that you want to measure. I'm going to talk a little bit more in detail about this with a company's example in the next class, and I'll show you how horrendously difficult this task is. That what the business wants, they can measurable data to niye jawa is actually, there has been times that I had crazy weeks just thinking about what could be the measurable. It's actually quite difficult. Then the next step is identifying the source of the measurable, which is comparatively easy. When you know what you're going to measure, you can always identify how to measure it. Then establishing a collection and reporting. So this basically means that for any business to be data-driven, it doesn't need to only collect once. It needs to have a recurring collection system, and collection করে basic reporting, যে এটা এতদিনে collect হয়েছে, এটা এতদিন পুরনো data, এই reportingটা set up করা. Again, the collection and reporting এর জন্য we'll have another class. Then we have analysis. Model building, where analysis talks about basic pattern বের করা. Model building talks about using models to make predictions and stuff. The next step is very underrated and yet highly important, is communicating the findings. It is underrated because এখন পর্যন্ত the field of data analytics is dominated by CS engineers or mostly mathematical people, and তারা এটাকে বেশি পাত্তা দেয় না যে communications, to them, and this is where I feel like us, like people who are good at presentations, who are good at understanding the strategy and working with the data, are the key conduits who will play the major role. I was talking to the head of Shell, the petroleum, for the Malaysia region, and he was telling me exactly this. The future of data is data strategists, people who can convert the maths to the decisions or simple terms that the board wants. Because board ke jay tumi ajke jodi bolo je tomar r regression run korso, tomar r square is 90%, board would be like, what the fuck are you talking about? Because they don't even have the time for learning what is regression or R square. They need to know whether your model is working, whether what decision you need, and what is the evidence for that decision. What actions you need and what is the evidence for that. So that's where communicating with the data, storytelling with data is one of our major objectives of the course. Second half of the course, এটা নিয়ে যথেষ্ট প্যারা দিব তোমাদেরকে. Then the next step is actually no solution is a correct solution. Because দিনের শেষে data doesn't represent everything. তোমরা যে মোজাম্বিকের যদি এক্সাম্পলটা চিন্তা করে দেখো, যে data is always a proxy of something I'm trying to measure in real life. সবকিছু যদি মেজার করা যেত, সবকিছু যদি প্রেডিক্ট করা যেত using a model, then I will be redundant, you will be redundant, business studies, management studies, social studies would not be required. Machines would predict everything and will be plugged into matrix. Which basically means that models are simplifications, data is simplification. So every time you come up with a model, a solution, you know that there is some more improvements that you can do about the solution. So then these solutions would lead to the next problem, and then the cycle continues. It will continue until the point you have so an ideal book definition would be like, it will continue, but in reality it will not continue. কারণ এটা সব সময় হলে এক পর্যায়ে যায়, এক জায়গায় যাবা, দেখবা যে তোমার যে সলিউশনটা পেয়েছো, সেই সলিউশনটাকে ইমপ্রুভ করার জন্য ইনক্রিমেন্টাল cost in time and money will be way too much compared to the gain in the business values or business যে বেনিফিটটা সেটার তুলনায় সলিউশনের খরচ বেশি হয়ে যাবে at which point ওই যে cost benefit analysis the cost of improvement would be much higher compared to the benefits from the improvement at which point you decide to break the cycle say that okay given the present technology given the present capabilities given the present ability of the business this is the best I can do but this overall is the analytic process now might be overwhelming to start with but next class I'm going to show you a hands-on example that how for a company's perspective কিভাবে এই steps গুলো আসে so that you get a better idea of what's happening now if this is done properly I'll actually cover this next class honestly this part I'll give you some success stories of companies that have done properly then I'm gonna skip this slide for next class but I'm gonna talk about this is actually a very important thing that we want to start with সব তো শুনতে খুব ভালো লাগছে যে এত ডেটা আছে এত কিছু করা সম্ভব but it's challenging as well এতই যদি মানে if this was so good or so easy then all the businesses would have been like doing it it's hard to do and why is it hard to do so here again I'm going to tell you like show you three major challenges the first one is actually offshoot of a joke I have actually this is not my joke this is actually আমার যে mentor ছিল she shared me this joke and I loved it and then on I have been sharing this joke with people I talk to so as you can see in the screen these are red Indians so red Indian there একটা ability থাকার কথা especially the red Indian chief so the red Indian chief is supposed to be the weatherman someone who's able to predict the weather so এখন in modern times this person gets elected as the red Indian chief so he gets asked by the red like by his tribe chief is it gonna be cold this winter why because red Indians don't live in houses ওরা যেহেতু টেন্টে থাকে for winter they need to collect a lot of wood so the chief is like সে আসলে তার কোনো সুপার পাওয়ার নাই সে জানেও না কি হবে but he's like let's play safe so he's like yeah it's gonna be cold this winter and so the red Indians start collecting wood now the chief is a good guy and an honest guy so তার খুব খারাপ লাগতেছিল যে সে এরকম চাপা মারলো সে নিয়ারেস্ট শহরে গেল যায় শহরের টেলিফোন বুথ থেকে ওয়েদার অফিসে ফোন করলো and weather office কে ফোন করে জিজ্ঞেস করলো is it going to be cold this winter weather office is like yes it's going to be very cold so the chief is happy okay চাপা মারছে অন্ধকারে ঢিল মারছে লেগে গেছে আচ্ছা so almost winter-এর কাছাকাছি টাইম so তখন আবার রেড ইন্ডিয়ানরা এসে জিজ্ঞেস করলো যে should we collect more wood is it going to be colder this winter and the chief is like yeah it's going to be colder this winter and then again chief felt bad he went to the nearest city he called the weather office and asked them that is it going to be cold this winter and the weather office is like yes it's going to be cold now almost winter time chole asche there is no sign of snow or anything at which point red Indians are again like chief is it going to be cold this winter and the chief is like yeah I told you it's going to be cold and then he again goes to the nearest city he again calls the weather office and again asks them is it going to be cold this winter and the weather office is like yes it's going to be cold now this time the chief asks how do you know how are you so confident and the weather office is like dude look at the Indians collecting wood so what do you get from this what is the challenge then
circular information
measuring the right thing none of them are measuring the right thing that is actually the key challenge so আমি তোমাদেরকে যে challenges গুলো দেখাচ্ছি topmost challenge is this one I keep telling all data people যেই data line আসে তারা আমি যোগটা বলি not only to entertain but to remind যে ভাই ওই যে দিনের শেষে সবাই যদি ভুল জিনিস মেজার করতে থাকে it's going to be super cold this winter so measuring the right thing is very crucial and yet it's the hardest because sometimes it's very difficult to identify what you want to measure or actually it's very easy to identify what you want to measure but ওইটা ঠিকমতো পাওয়াটা becomes one heck of a difficulty so we have two chats coming in wrong metric to measure exactly it's not accuracy Najiba it's more like not measuring the right thing so that's the first challenge the second challenge some of you might have heard this story. So jara jara ei story tar byapare jano, I would request you to zip up for this story because I'm going to follow this story up with a question. So I want to give it for the people who have not heard of this story to give it a shot to try to answer this question. So this plane was the last bombing plane version for the Second World War. And this was the one used to bomb Germany out of war. This was actually a favorite plane of America, B-17, Flying Fortress naam chilo. And initially, when it was used to bomb Germany, it had a very high death rate, very high, very low survival rate. So এটা নিয়ে ধরো তোমরা তো I think I'm sure you have watched the movie or heard of the movie Imitation Games. So war effort যেটা হয়, a lot of times different war effort requires scientific study as well. So UK there was this place called Bletchley Park. So Bletchley Park all these scientists were brought in to help with these type of war problems. So one problem was a plane's survival rate কিভাবে বাড়ানো যায়. So what they used to do is one of the oldest, I would say that history is one of the best ways of collecting data. ওরা যেটা করতো যে প্লেনগুলো ফেরত আসতো, প্লেনের এক্স্যাক্টলি কোথায় 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 গুলি লেগেছে প্রত্যেকটা প্লেনের সেটা ওরা মার্ক করতো। মার্ক করে একটা কমন ডায়াগ্রাম প্যাটার্ন বের করার চেষ্টা করতো যে এইসব জায়গায় বেশি গুলি লাগছে, অ্যান্ড সেগুলোকে ওরা বেটার প্যাডিং দিত, অ্যালুমিনিয়াম প্যাডিং দিত, প্রোটেকশনস দিত, সো দ্যাট ওখানে গুলি লাগলেও যেন প্লেনের বেশি ক্ষতি না হয়। And they did it diligently for a few months, but the survival rate didn't change much. Then one crazy scientist comes up and proposes that the data they are collecting is right, but they're doing something wrong. What is it that they're doing wrong?
A wrong sample?
No.
স্যার প্যাডিং অ্যাপ্লিকেশনটা রং ছিল স্যার, যেখানে লাগে নাই মানে যে প্লেনগুলো ব্যাক করছে ওই প্লেনগুলো তো অলরেডি সার্ভাইভ করছে, বাট যে জায়গাগুলোতে যেগুলো ব্যাক করে না ওইগুলো হয়তো অন্য জায়গাগুলোতে গুলি লাগছিল, এন্ড আসলে ওদের প্যাডিংটা ওই জায়গাগুলোতে অ্যাপ্লাই করা উচিত ছিল।
এটা কি র্যান্ডমনেস এরর
না, র্যান্ডমনেস এরর না। ইনফ্যাক্ট একটু আগে অ্যান্সার দিলা বাকি, ইয়েস বাকি ইজ রাইট। The thing is, data ঠিক ছিল কিন্তু data was good quality data, but they were not asking the right question to the data. The thing is, যে প্লেনগুলো ফেরত এসেছে তারা তো ফেরত এসেছে, they have come back, which means getting hit there was not fatal enough so that they could come back, which also means that if they were hit somewhere else, that would have been fatal enough, and those planes did not come back. So instead of adding more aluminium padding to, places that were having more bullet or more hits, start putting more aluminium padding in the other parts of the plane, because ওই জায়গাগুলোতে হয়তো বা গুলি খাইছিল দেখে ওই বাকি প্লেনগুলো আসতে পারে না, and the result was doubling of the survival rate. So what does this story tell you about like the challenges in analytics? Nafian, sorry.
I think to find a solution, we need to ask the right question first, that exactly what do we need to know?
Yes, the challenge is asking the right question. If you ask the right question, then if you don't ask the right question, you will not know. So এখানে Rifayat বলেছো survivorship bias. Yes, this is also the example, like a good term to summarize it is the survivorship bias. The problem here is that the question is also important. First of all, measuring what needs to be measured, the right thing to be measured. The second problem comes in asking the right question to the data. Otherwise, you might have the world-class data, but bhul question korle, your answer will be wrong as well. So that's the second challenge. Let's go to the third challenge now. This is a comic strip for you guys. It's not a challenge, but এটা পড়ে তোমরা guess করতে পারো what's the third challenge I'm going to talk about. So go for it.
Finding the correct data from a very large pile of data?
No.
Sir, confirmation bias.
Which is?
Which is finding out evidence which supports your solution to the problem. Only finding that evidence.
80% correct to me. So what Shadman is saying, he's almost correct. Acha, we have a chat response as well. Finding out only the data that aligns with your assumption support. Again, oishi kachakachi, I would say. It's actually all together. Actually, the thing is, যেটা আমরা বলি যে একটা খুব funny term আছে আমাদের, আমরা যেটা বলি যে, you know, if you torture a data long enough, it's going to tell you what you want it to tell you. That is, you can run many models. You can run, এখানে যেটা বলে, just stare until they start looking right? Which basically means that start transforming the data, make changes in the data, run different models, do many things, and দেখা যাবে যে একসময় তুমি যে জিনিসটা হাঞ্চ নিয়ে শুরু করছিলা সেটাই পাচ্ছ। Is it the right thing? No one knows about that. Now, it can be right, or it can be very wrong as well. A lot of organizations who are very, very data-driven make horrendous mistakes from time to time. And they do make these mistakes because they do exactly what this is. The analyst starts with a predetermined, যেটাকে সাদমান বলল যে confirmation bias, যে predetermined একটা plan নিয়ে যায় যে আমি তো এটাই দেখতে চাই। And যখনই a single analysis shows this, you jump onto taking it and don't look at everything else. The way to solve this is being thorough in your analysis and being intuitive with your analysis. That is, look at the data to find out what the data is telling, not plan on running many models to get your confirmation. So that is why একটা advice যেটা আমি most analyst কে দেই, যে sometimes maybe the simplest analysis is the best. Yeah, Shadman, you have raised your hand.
Sir, another solution could be like having someone play the role of devil's advocate. Like someone will find the evidence that are against the solution provided by the data analyst. What if
that might actually create a chula-chuli situation within an organization? ঠিক আছে, যে একজনকে বললা যে এটা confirmation দাও, আরেকজনকে বললা এটা opposing দাও. You might actually destroy the teams working all together. It's a theoretically, it's a good advice, but practically this might actually create a very bad organization culture. But yeah, I get your point. যেটা করা যায়, so এই জন্য এখানে যেটা বলা হয় যে devil's advocate, না, ওরা যেটাকে বলে counterfactual. Counterfactual is basically that, যে আমরা যদি এখন যে কনক্লুশনটা আসছে ওই কনক্লুশনটা থেকে ব্যাকট্র্যাক করে দেখি যে ডেটাটাকে আদৌ পসিবল কিনা given this conclusion. If that is not the case, that means there has been something wrong with the analysis. It's a biased analysis. So these are the three challenges, and তিনটা challenge আমি বলবো are top 3 in terms of and in terms of decreasing order of challenge. The first challenge honestly is the measuring the right thing, and I've seen a lot of times people end up measuring the wrong thing. The second is asking the right question. The third is using the right model. This one, if someone does it properly, is the easiest to solve. This one is the hardest to solve. That's where experience and a lot of hard work comes in. In fact, if I just quickly go back to this diagram here, সত্যি কথা বলতে গেলে এই connecting the problem to measurables to identifying এই দুইটা কোন real data projectের 80% of the time খেয়ে দেয়। এই দুইটা তুমি ঠিক যদি করতে পারো, বাকিটুক 20% এর মধ্যে হয়ে যায়। That's like the happy phase of analysis. These are the sad and horrendous phases of analysis. So that's about it for today. Next class, we are going to look at this whole analytics process, and I'll give you an example of a company, example of how companies do it, and we'll look into also some strategic aspects of business analytics. So, any questions for today's class? Questions, confusions? Was I going Rawalpindi Express P-Day? Naki, you guys could catch up? Anything? If not, wait for it. I'm gonna share. Oh, someone raised their hand. Yeah, Wishi, you raised your hand.
Yes, sir. Sir, just confirming, did you say that using the right model is a good solution for the last major challenge?
I mean, using simple models and learning how to use the right model. Yeah, that can solve the last challenge.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Okay. So wait for it. Let me share you the Menti link. So we'll have 2 questions today. One important information আগে থেকে তোমাদেরকে বলে দিই যে সেকেন্ড যে কোয়েশ্চেনটা দেখবা সেকেন্ড কোয়েশ্চেনের 2টো কারেক্ট অ্যান্সার আছে and guessing one of them is fine. So chances of getting it right is higher for you guys. So here's the link plus আমি এটা রান করে স্ক্রিনেও শেয়ার করছি so that তোমরা এখানে আসতে পারো
কোডটা একটু বলা যাবে স্যার?
হ্যাঁ ওই যে লিংকটা আমি পাঠিয়ে দিয়েছি কোডটা একটু পর স্ক্রিনে দেখবা এখনই So I'm sharing the screen now with the code and everything. Here. Make sure you write your names properly. Kintu. I think we need 2 more people. One more information is if you feel, if you miss out on 1 or 2 of the quizzes, don't worry about it because I mean over the semester I'll collect all the data and then normalize it by taking best of few parts so that missing it out or technical difficulties holo, don't worry about it 1 or 2 times hotei pare. So don't be too stressed out about it. Acha, let's start. Question is not hard. It's actually pretty easy. Most of you got it right. It's identifying the problem, not identifying the sources or not collecting the data. The first step in the business analytics process. Acha. Let's go to the next, let's see the scoreboard. Close match. It's Robin who's the fastest. Interesting, load color to white hot, or score দেখাচ্ছে না এখানে. But yeah, let's move on to the next question. So it's related to the third challenge. Actually, it's related to first and the third challenge. Yep. Those of you who say bad model, you're correct. Biased data, you're also correct. So if we look at the scores now, let's see if it's Robin or Merab beating Robin. Oh, I think it may be Baki who's getting it. Yeah. Congratulations for today's class, Baki. So one more thing is যেটা আমি section B সাথে আবিষ্কার করলাম যে one person from section B has dominated in back-to-back 2 quizzes. So আমি আরেকটা জিনিস চিন্তা করছি যে if someone's dominating back-to-back in like 3+ quizzes তাকে pause দেওয়া হবে. So just so that একটা মানুষ dominate না করে পুরো score টুক. But yeah, good job done. Any questions, confusions, issues, anything, or else we can end today's class. One more thing, kalke je office hour ta ache, feel free to log in if you guys have anything to discuss. I'll be checking that. I'll be closing that form by end of today. So আজকের মধ্যে ওটা একটু আপডেট করলে ভালো, কালকে হয়তো আমি দেখতে পারবো না। So আজকে রাতের মধ্যে if you wanna set in office hours with me, feel free to do that. Or else see you all on Sunday. Yeah, someone raised their hand. কি বলতে চাইছিল ভাই?
স্যার অফিস আওয়ারের জন্য স্যার আমরা কি জুম অথবা কোন এরকম সার্ভিসের থ্রুতে মিট করব?
Yeah. First you fill in the office hours and then I'll send you the link and everything.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Okay then. Bye everyone. See you Sunday.